watching our stream. Hello!
Hi everyone, hi, welcome back to our read along with Lovecraft. Now usually there's four of us, but unfortunately Rina's been put away in a sane asylum. Unfortunately the mythos tales that she read apparently twisted her mind, and she's been put into I think it's Arkham Asylum. I think she's gone into. It's very, very sad, but she might be out for next week hopefully. But those of us whose minds didn't break have been reading The Nameless City this week.
Yes. She started turning Isle into a squid. That's what her parents thought. It's best we send her to the asylum.
Exactly. She couldn't handle the squamous things that lurked in the dark and under the gibbous moon. You know, it was too much
there's
for her.
Our book.
That's the book we're reading. We're on the the third one? This is the third book that we've read. The last two have been really short, haven't they? Third story. And these are mainly the mythos related stories, aren't they? The third one, The Nameless City, by far the longest one. Not super long, still no dialogue in it. We've noticed no talking, it's just all description.
Yeah.
It's all description.
It's also constantly the creatures are related to the sea or reptilian in nature.
Yeah, so basically this Nameless City, he's basically an archaeologist, isn't he? He's an explorer. He's gone to this city on his own.
Is he an archaeologist? I couldn't fully understand what his job was.
I couldn't.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand that he was an explorer, right?
Yeah, I think he's got to be an archaeologist from the fact that he's going to this Nameless City he's been warned against going to. The Arabs of the area all avoid the Nameless City, didn't they? They say that they avoid it. Like historically, they've avoided it. They've never sort of gone there. But because he's when he gets there himself, he's kind of nervous of it, isn't he? He sort of goes to start off.
He doesn't go fully in.
Yeah, eventually he gets his curiosity and his sense of wonder and wanting to discover. After a little while, he starts to going in there, doesn't he? He goes in at sunrise. At sunrise,
yeah.
But then he
finds
leaves at night.
Then he goes at sunrise.
Yeah, and he leaves that night. But later on, he gets more brave, doesn't he? Later on, he gets his sense of wanting to discover.
I would call it he's getting more stupid.
Yeah, you could call it that, but he's getting more stupid because he's eager to discover, isn't he? He's eager to discover stuff. I was going to read a little bit from the beginning. I've got a couple of reading bits I wanted to read out. So this is the very first opening. When I drew nigh the Nameless City, I knew it was accursed. I was travelling in a parched and terrible valley under the moon, and afar I saw it, protruding uncannily above the sands, as parts of a corpse may protrude from an ill-made grave. Fear spoke from the age-worn stones of this hoary survivor of the deluge, this great-grandmother of the eldest pyramid, and a viewless aura repelled me and bade me retreat from antique and sinister secrets that no man should see, and no man else had ever dared to see. So that's the opening line, which I think sets it up pretty well, to be honest. I think that gives a pretty good description of the Nameless City. So basically, he's gone there. No one's ever been there before. No one's dared to go there, and he's decided to, because he's an idiot.
The rest of them are smart.
And you get an idea of the age of it as well. It says it's the grandmother of the pyramids. So you think the pyramids have been there for about 4,000, 5,000 years? I'm not even sure how long they've been there now, but this dwarfs in age the pyramids. That's how old this place is. So he's scared to go in there originally, and there's some sandstorms. There's a few sandstorms building up as well. And on reading it subsequently, I caught a couple of instances where there's a loud metallic clang. Did you catch that bit as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does say that. Oops.
Yeah, there's a loud metallic clang, which he kind of he's not sure if he's dreamt it or imagined it, isn't he? Sort of
a weird sound. There's a weird sound all the time.
Yeah. But only a couple of times. It's not all the time, but we find out later on what it is. Later on, we find out that what it is that's causing that loud clang. But a couple of times it's mentioned. He doesn't sort of think about it too much, just that he heard it. Then as he gets braver, he starts to open up one of these temples, which he decides must be temples, some of these buildings, and he
goes into these three little temples that are near each other.
Yeah.
But then he when he really gets brave or stupid, depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
He stays there when he should actually be leaving.
Yeah, he
stays for the first two.
That's right.
What is it? The first, Alexa, was it the first 2 days?
I think it was about 2 days he left, didn't he? And the last day.
It seemed like it was 2 days.
Yeah, and then the third one, right? He goes to the biggest one, right? What was the biggest one?
Well, he finds another one, doesn't he?
And then he
the third one.
And then that's when he doesn't leave when the sun starts to go down. Hi, Mr. Ross.
He discovers some strange stairs descending downwards, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's always talking about there's a sandstorm that blows as well. But he sort of notices the sandstorm isn't on the cliff above, but for some reason it's down in this little like sunken base or whatever it is, wherever this city is. But he doesn't really sort of think much of it. He just assumes it's a local like wind condition or something like that, and he goes about his investigations. Eventually,
you think it's because of the part in the ending where it sucks it all in? You think that's why that's what it is. The sandstorm is like that.
That's exactly what's causing it. Yeah, that's exactly what's causing it. We'll see later on. And the loud clang is the golden door that's down there.
Yeah,
that clangs. It's the wind.
It closes at sunrise.
Yeah, the wind kind of billows out, and then it gets sucked back in, and we don't know what's causing that. That's kind of open to conjecture. We got to sort of see if we can work out what.
I gotta say, the way he began, I assumed that this one lived, that this narrator actually came out alive.
Yeah.
But based on the ending, he's dead as well, probably, isn't he?
No, I don't think he died. At the
end, him dropping back to Earth, so I kind of assumed he came back, but maybe wasn't exactly on Earth.
No, we'll get to the. I thought he.
But the way he described it, but the way it is from the beginning is that it looks like he lived to tell the tale, as he says. I would remember it, so I'm assuming he did come out of that place. But how if all those weird reptiles came at him, or did they just come into this chamber for the night?
You're jumping well ahead into the story now.
I know, because the ending was something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it did take a little bit. It was a bit confusing, but we'll get to our individual readings of that, I suppose, when we get towards the end of it. But he goes further down into the. He finds these stairs going down, which don't seem to be built for normal people, but obviously it's such an old place. He really theorizes they were all shorter in them days, and that's why he has to kneel down. He has to walk on his knees most of the time because the ceilings are too short for him.
Because they're all reptiles. They're not human.
That's what he.
At first, I thought they was just midgets.
Yeah,
and, normally, because in the first story we read, what was the name?
I can't remember the first one. It was Nyarlathotep.
No, not Nyarlathotep.
Second story. Was it? Oh no.
It was Dagon.
Yeah, they were giants.
It was there were giants, and here I kind of thought they would be giants as well. But then when he described how tiny, I thought, "Ooh, are these midgets?"
Well, when he eventually goes further down, he discovers bas reliefs, and he discovers carvings and that kind of thing. And he realizes that people are depicted as lizard-like creatures. I've got a description of the lizard-like creatures. To convey any idea of these monstrosities is impossible. They were of the reptile kind, with body lines suggesting sometimes the crocodile, sometimes the seal, but more often nothing of which either the naturalist or the paleontologist ever heard. In size, they approximated a small man, and their forelegs bore delicate and evidently flexible feet, curiously like human hands and fingers. The strangest of all were their heads, which presented a contour violating all known biological principles. To nothing can such things be well compared. In one flash, I thought of comparisons as varied as the cat, the bulldog, the mythic satyr, and the human being. So they're definitely not human. But
the bulldog was weird.
Yeah. So they're strange.
Mr. Gray, can you read the next one a bit slower?
Well, I was worried I made it too long, and I thought you was getting bored, so I quickly got to sped it up probably too much.
It's just you're going so fast I can hardly keep up.
Okay.
So there's books that exist that aren't comic books. There's one
similar. Some of these have been put into comic books as well. I'm out of breath now after reading that so fast.
Alexa, why don't you continue?
Continue with
the synopsis.
Oh,
you just haven't said much yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys are doing awesome. I don't know.
Well,
Honestly, I had to go buy a copy of Lovecraft's book on my phone to just
okay.
like keep reading them with you guys. So I was like, yeah, this is cool. But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, like that one was a weird read. And I was
Yeah.
kind of like Matilda, like I thought we were looking for midgets. I was like, oh,
Yeah, me
maybe
too. I thought it was. I thought
Yeah.
at first before I went further that it was a small race of midgets, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
right.
that's what he's thinking though, because even though he discovers these bas reliefs of these reptile-like creatures, he assumes that they're gods that are worshipped by the men that live there. He still thinks it's humans that live there, or maybe a older, smaller like race of humans.
Yeah.
And these
Even
were
though
like,
he sees the mummies, the
yeah, but he
cousins
thinks.
with the mummies.
But like you think about it, the Egyptians mummified cats and stuff like that, didn't they? So maybe he thinks that they're like put together, like bits of different animals sewn together or something. Maybe he doesn't actually say that, but I'm assuming that's what he was thinking. Because all the while he's talking about it, he's not thinking, "Oh, these are the people that live there." He's thinking these are the gods. These are what was worshipped by the people who lived there. He doesn't think they're actual real. And the only depiction that he sees of a human. He looks like an ancient, he's assuming it's someone from an ancient
Someone
civilization.
being ripped apart.
Yeah, someone being ripped
This
apart.
race of lizards just
Yeah,
tore
ripping them
the
apart. But we as a reader, like especially as a reader who's read like books like this before, you know that they're obviously the people that live there. But as the guy there, he's refusing to be. He wouldn't. He obviously wouldn't believe that because he's like, oh no, of course, humans live here. He wouldn't have the concept that these lizard creatures could actually be the inhabitants of this city. He just thinks that they're depictions of the people who did live there, gods. And he carries on down down these stairs. He carries on like his torch goes out. I got a bit confused about his torch went out. And he doesn't talk about him relighting it, but then it's lucky and he finds some phosphorus, doesn't he? Some phosphoruснess, like some
he starts to see how things are in his mind. No, or is that
he says I think he was imagining, like he said, he was picturing what was around him.
Maybe
like,
the place was affecting him, and it gave him the sight.
No, I think I don't know. That was a bit confusing. He
doesn't notice that the torch is off. He's still holding it.
Yeah.
He says, I was still holding it above my head as if it was in blaze.
I think maybe you'd walk down to where the phosphorus was, the light that was coming from like a strange eerie glow, and that's where he discovers like a door, like a portal, doesn't he? And he expected it to be another tunnel. And another thing that he noticed that the in all the depictions of their tapestries and so forth, there was no depictions of death, only death through war, no depictions of natural death. Which I take it to mean that these things must live forever, or they conquered death kind of thing. And that's when he discovers the portal, which sort of like I've got a description of the portal, which I'll read slower. Creeping up to it, I cried aloud in transcendent amazement at what lay beyond. For instead of other and brighter chambers, there was only an illimitable void of uniform radiance, such as one might fancy when gazing down from the peak of Mount Everest upon a sea of sunlit mist. Behind me was a passage so cramped that I could not stand up in it. Before me was an infinity of subterranean effulgence, which I had to look up effulgence, it means light. So basically he's come through these tunnels, down these stairs, and suddenly he just sees this looming, like when we did the Nyarlathotep, and then some people went down into the subway, disappeared. He went into the foot, and then suddenly there was a void, like a vortex or whatever you would call it. Not a vortex, not a void, but like an opening, like a gateway. And I imagine this is like a gateway, and I think he sees them. And I think this portal is beyond this big gold door that he sees. That he sees, like a big gold door was open. That's through there is where he sees this mist, this just mass expanse of openness where there should be a room, where there should be a confined space. He just sees, the oblivion, like the void yawning out before him through this door, like, and I think they sees. Does he not see then, like, the figures of the reptile people in there? He gets an idea of the shadows of the reptile people or something, doesn't he? Because that's when
they start to go in. At the end of the story, they start to. I was wondering if that whole thing is like a big cryo chamber. And that's where they go when the sun goes up, so they don't. I just assumed because turn to ash or something.
Because when they talked about the city, the civilization, it wasn't originally in the desert. It used to be. They said it used to be a seaside before the the millennia has dried out and turned the whole area into a desert. It wasn't originally a desert. I just got the impression that these people, this ancient race, had kind of realized that they were the only ones left, and all the humans had taken over. So the humans to them are like rodents. They're like wicked vermin who've taken over the whole of the civilization and bred like flies or whatever. And so they're the only. So they've gone into like maybe they've, I don't know, worshipped their ancient gods, and they've gone into this void to get away from the world that is no longer has a place for them, kind of thing.
It's kind of hard to read some of Lovecraft's descriptions.
Yeah,
really notice the sea description.
You've got to sort of read between the lines and make up your own story, really, haven't you? That's the thing. But that's when the wind comes in. This is when the wind comes. I'm not quite sure. I was like, what was the wind all about? Was the wind trying to get people and bring it back? Or like, I don't know, somehow.
I think maybe the wind was sucking the door back, closing it.
Yeah, it does. It closes the door.
Maybe these creatures can't close the door.
Yeah, but
that's like a mechanism for it.
Well, yeah,
because when you think about it, if they found this portal and it leads to somewhere else, why just not go into this somewhere else and just never come back?
They are in
why every sunset they come out, they stay in their underground city, and then they go back in? Well, what's the point?
I thought they was always in there. I thought they were still in there.
No, because when he goes in, it's empty, right, Alexa? It's described as empty, isn't it?
The cavern is empty.
No, it was described as empty, right?
Yeah, where he is empty, but beyond the void, I think is where they are.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about there being like anything in it.
Yeah, because he goes in and it's empty, and then right at the end of the story, he says, because he feels like the thing is sucking him in, the portal, and then he says, I saw the reptile creatures, he starts seeing them coming in.
No, I thought they were inside the yawning void. As far as I could make out, they're inside.
They started coming through the door.
Yeah, out from the void. Out from the void.
Not out from the void.
Imagine that was like a hallucination, like something.
Not from the void. They come through the door.
Yeah. No, turning, I saw outlined against the luminous aether of the abyss, what could have not been seen against the dusk of the corridor, a nightmare horde of rushing devils, hate distorted, grotesquely panoplied, half transparent, devils of a race no man might mistake, the crawling reptiles of the Nameless City. Yeah, they are in the void, Matilda. So
right. The way I read it, I thought he was lying here. There's the door. There's the portal, and I thought, I thought the mummies he saw. They weren't really mummies. They woke up and they all went back into the room.
All right.
That's what I thought. So it's like, why just not then stay in that place? Why are you coming out each sunset and lying like mummies?
Yeah,
kind of gave me a vampire vibe.
I think the mummies were actual ones that had died, and I think they were in that void. I thought they'd gone into that void when they decided the world was no longer for them. And I don't know why the wind blew every night and opened the door, spread around. Maybe I'm wondering if that's what I was thinking. Like it's like a vacuum cleaner, cleaning out any intruders. Maybe it's like blowing open the door. The wind goes up there and tries to suck anybody back down through the doorway. Although it's not super powerful because he's trying to blow him back in. So the wind when it comes back into the doorway is a lot more powerful than he thinks it's going to be, and it's like nearly sort of blowing him into the void, isn't it? So remember he's holding onto the ground, trying not to get blown into the void. So.
There's a door there in the first place.
Be a deterrent. Like people want to
say, comic kid.
Yeah,
like maybe
and Alexa.
I just maybe it's like to keep people actually away and not bring them to it. Maybe they don't want visitors, and that's why it ends up scarring him and bothering him so much. But like, I don't know. I just think about it, and I'm like, I don't want to walk into a sandstorm. I wouldn't. Like. We get light ones here, and I can't imagine they're anything like that. So I definitely wouldn't do it there. And so I'm just kind of like, maybe it's to actually make people go away.
It's a bit of a weird one, right? Yeah.
It's like a cryo chamber, really. It just sucks it in and closes. Although they wouldn't have cryo chambers at the time.
No, I don't know what it is in there.
It made me assume that maybe they they needed it to get the air out.
Maybe like recycle the air, maybe.
And that's why I thought it was dead. I thought there was no air after that closed, and then the narrator was dead.
No, it doesn't suck I don't think it sucks all the air out of the building that's already there. It's just like a wind comes out from that door every night, swoops around inside the basin, and then goes and then sucked back in the data. And that's when the door clangs. And he heard the door clanging a couple of times over the previous nights. So the wind comes sucking back in. But he didn't know what it was. No, until he saw that it went down there. I don't know why it was doing that. I suppose that's a lot of the same with Lovecraft. You've got to try and fathom it out yourself or work out. Like you say, we don't know what they was doing in there. Were they living in there? What was in there even? Because he doesn't actually see anything apart. What did
the lizard people do to her? That's the big question I have.
Yeah.
Because from the description in the beginning, it seems like he made it out alive.
Yeah, I think he made it out alive. He was worried because the wind was almost blowing him back into it. And when he turned around, he saw them like silhouetted against the green glow, waiting for him.
Does that mean they got out? That they came out to the portal?
I don't think they came out. I think that was at the threshold of it, like waiting for him to get blown in, see if they could maybe grab him if he sort of like got too close or something like that. That's what I would assume.
Maybe they can't go out to the portal anymore.
Yeah, I think
maybe they do actually need humans.
Well, I say maybe they went in for food or something, or maybe they just wanted to kill him because he represents the new race that's taken over the world that once used to be their provenance.
Because why would they have something that sucks all the like? What I'm thinking is, wouldn't they then block the portal so they wouldn't have the wind?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing with there's no kind of like hard and set like answer. You have to kind of like fathom it out yourself. Try and like.
I'm thinking if this race of lizard people, if they, let's say when they originally went down there, wouldn't if they didn't want anyone to even come, wouldn't they just block the door from within? They would block it well, and that way no one would even hear anything. No one would come in.
I'm supposing they're thinking.
But I went down there and found like nothing. There was just a blocked door he couldn't get through, and he'd have to go back.
Yeah, but maybe the thing is they don't know that. They probably know that there's humans out there. This new race of human people, the monkey descendants, because they possibly know that if we abandon our city, going through this portal, they're bound to show up, and because that's what they're like. They get everywhere. These human vermin. So maybe this nightly not the same nightly wind I have after I've eaten baked beans or nothing like that, but the wind that comes out in the doorway at night. It's kind of maybe it's a defense mechanism or something like that. Maybe it's to scare the people away or to I don't know. It's all very vague, and you have to kind of like. I think that's. A lot of the Lovecraft is unknown. You've got, it's not known, and it's left to your imagination, basically. So you got to try.
I suppose so.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
there's a lot of weird stuff in it. But I must say, when he has more pages to write in, stories are more interesting.
Yeah, Russ, if you want to read this, it's only a short story. The link is down below in the description. It's all H.P. Lovecraft stuff is available online for free because it's all what's the word? Public domain. It's all public domain.
Yeah, it's all the public domain.
Yeah, so if you want to read it.
Alexa, why don't you tell us some of the things you found out about Lovecraft?
Oh yeah. Well, Lovecraft's life was really interesting. So I did find out, kind of like we talked about last week, he went from being really well off to his dad went into the mental hospital.
Insane asylum.
Yeah, after that, things kind of cascaded. There are some really interesting facts around that where nobody's really sure how much Lovecraft actually knew about what was happening to his dad or what did happen. Because the rumors are in the family that it was kept pretty hush from him. And the last statements from him when he died were provably incorrect from other family members as to what they knew of his dad. So it's kind of an interesting thing to know. He really didn't actually know anything. They kind of lied to him his entire life. So I can't imagine how that affected his stories. Yeah. But he went on to publish, obviously, a lot of short stories. And at a point, he was publishing for one newspaper that was rather small. And started up drama with another writer, and this big publication, I want to say they were like APA for short or something. They loved their feuding through writing, brought both of them on as directors, and it was one of the highest things Lovecraft actually did. And he held the position up until he died.
Okay.
But did he have? Does that mean he was better paid until his death?
No,
they kind of screwed him over.
Yeah.
And still didn't treat him that well.
No, there's a lot of money.
You think he had very little human interaction when the older he grew? I mean, outside maybe work. I'm just thinking this because of all the like of all the stories where we just have the narrator, but there isn't even dialogue from the narrator. Now I get it, you know, maybe not wanting to write more characters, but there's like we don't even have a moment where the character says something to himself even or to herself.
Yeah. A lot of the rumors were that he didn't really like anything to do with people. He never married anyone, never had kids.
He did marry. He did marry.
Yeah,
he did marry.
Okay,
yeah,
I couldn't find him getting married. Yeah,
he, only for a little while though. He married a Jewish woman, and he moved to New York for a little while. But then he missed Providence, and he went back. He wanted to go back, and they ended up divorcing. I think he actually wrote a short story of her at one point. I think he met her first through like his correspondence, because his friends are mainly like writers, other writers. He'd write to them, that was kind of how and that's how the mythos grew, because other people shared their ideas, and he used their stuff and they used his stuff, and that's how the whole mythos grew. I was going to actually go into we should have started off with the history. The Nameless City is a short horror story written by H.P. Lovecraft in January 1921 and first published in the November 1921 issue of the amateur press journal The Wolverine. That's an interesting name for the Wolverine was the name of the publication. It is often considered the first story set in the Cthulhu mythos world. In the story, the protagonist that travels to the middle of the Arabian desert to explore an ancient underground city. There's a couple of things I forgot to mention, actually. A couple of times Abdul al-Hazred is mentioned. He's the guy who writes the Necronomicon. He's the one who has the dreams, as kind of as possessed to write the Necronomicon. So he's like kind of important to future stories in the Lovecraft mythos. And also there's a couplet which is mentioned a couple of times, which is quite a well-known sort of often mentioned. I think it sometimes refers to Cthulhu. That is not dead, which can eternal lie, and with strange aeons even death may die.
Yeah, that Arabic prophet.
Yeah,
I didn't understand the quote fully. Can you explain it, Mr. Gray?
Well, I take it to be Cthulhu. It appears dead because Cthulhu is sleeping, dead but dreaming.
Right.
Dead but dreaming in the sunken city of Arlea underneath the Pacific Ocean. But it says even the dead can whatever. I can't remember what I said now. But what is it? Even death may die. So basically, he's going to wake up. So though he appears to be dead, and he is dead, he's not really dead, because death is not the same to Cthulhu. And when the stars are right, he's going to rise again. So it's just an interesting.
And he'll even be here longer than death itself.
Yeah, he appears dead at the moment because but he's not really dead. Soon, when the stars align properly, I don't know, somehow they're going to give him magic power to wake up or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what does it, or if it's like maybe the stars are kind of like his cosmic alarm clock, and when they're all aligned properly, Cthulhu's going to go, oh, time to wake up and eat some human beings. Well, he won't even know that human beings are here, because he's older even than the inhabitants of the Nameless City. So we were probably like tiny little primates when he went to sleep, and he'd wake up and go, oh look, the primates have grown up. They look very tasty, and he'd just start eating us all. That's what I imagine anyway.
Does he eat human stuff?
Well, probably. Why not? He might not though. He might not do, because we're so far beneath him that we'll be like ants. He'll probably just walk along and crush us all under his feet.
He'd probably need to eat the whole human race to even feel something in the stomach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's ever sort of. I always say he's going to eat us all, but I don't know who knows what he's going to do. Will he even notice us? But the thing is, his sudden presence will probably drive like half the world mad, because he'll be like, "What the hell is this?" you know, and he's not gonna worry about
as a big motherfucking squid.
Yeah, exactly. I think the world would go kind of mad. I mean, imagine if he did.
I'm busy, Mama.
I think America would probably try and bomb him. I'm pretty sure lots of people would, because you couldn't handle that, could you? Like this sudden thing, like towering out of the ocean.
Maybe if he just sat there, they would send scientists from all over the world to examine him.
Well, the thing is, when Cthulhu rises, maybe the rest of his brethren may rise as well. Like perhaps others will rise, and it's never kind of
get education from us, Mr. Ross.
This is
Mr. Gray's gonna educate you.
Yeah, I don't know about educate, but this is more of the unknown, isn't it? It's like no one actually knows what will happen once Cthulhu rises. Why do some people try and why do some cultists try and raise Cthulhu? What do they think is going to happen? Because the Necronomicon doesn't. Necronomicon is only ever sort of mentioned here and there in stories, so you don't know exactly what it's telling you in there. It doesn't know if it describes what Cthulhu's plans are. I think the elder gods like Cthulhu and Dagon and Mother Hydra, and there's also the outer beings. I think they were supposed to be at war at one point, and but it's not. That's the thing is the mythos and the stories are never kind of like black and white. This is everything. This is everything. It's just tiny little snippets. You've got to kind of extrapolate, try and no one. It's a mystery. There's a mystery.
I know Cthulhu, not Cthulhu.
It's. I'll write it down in the chat. But it can be spelled like that because it's not a word that's meant for our tongue. So this is how it's typically spelled.
Well, H.P. Lovecraft should have thought of that prior.
It has been done as Cthulhu.
And the first time I saw the name, I read it as Cholulu.
Yeah. Cholulu. Cholulu sounds like a gangster's mole. My name is Cholulu. It does to me anyway. Well, it's Tallulah, isn't it? Isn't that Bugsy Malone? My name is Tallulah. Something like that, anyway. Perhaps I'm the only person who knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Cthulhu. Yeah, call him what you like, really. He's not going to answer you, whatever you say.
Yeah, he's sleeping, see?
Yeah, at the moment
he's right over here. He's very displeased.
Yeah. So
this image is really pissed off.
Oh yeah. Well, he's just. I don't know if he's pissed off. I actually saw another
Lovecraft collection in an edition like this, but not the Cthulhu mythos tales.
Was it the Dream Cycle? Something else. Was it the Dream Cycle?
I don't remember. I only looked at it briefly. I didn't really look at it that well. The next time I'm there, I will look. However, it is interesting what that'll be.
I'm going to quickly have a quick look about some more of the inspiration and see if it says anything about the end.
But again, it's interesting how little dialogue he has.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because most of his correspondence, maybe because it was through letters. Maybe that's just how he's used to writing. I mean, and letters, you don't need to like add a comment with the brackets, right? You just not brackets. The two lines when dialogue starts.
The apostrophe, exclamation, speech parenthesis.
Yeah, speech references. It's maybe that's something to do with it too. It's just used to describing the things in letters, but not actually having that many conversations with people.
I could see that.
Or perhaps he was really barely having human interaction.
Let's just read this from the Wikipedia page because it kind of clears up what happens at the end. It says the narrator notices a large amount of light coming from an unknown source. After falling to it on his hands and knees, he sees a large brass door with a descent into a misty portal. He then hears moaning coming from the coffin passage and feels a strong wind coming from the passage trying to pull him down. Against all odds, he resists and sees what appears to be reptiles with a body shaped like a cross between a crocodile and a seal, with a strange head common to neither, involving a protruding forehead, horns, lack of a nose, and an alligator-like jaw, crawling behind the lit portal. The wind dies down after the last of it flows down into the light, when suddenly the door closes behind him, leaving him in the dark, is what it says. So that's what happened. The wind blew. That's basically what we said there, wasn't it, really?
So maybe you just basically stayed there the whole day, and then at night the door opened again, and he just went out.
No, I think the door shut behind him. He wasn't locked in behind the door. The door was what was blocking off the light. I think he was just left in the dark because don't forget his torch had already gone out. So he probably scrambled around in the dark after that door slammed and blocked off the luminescence. And so he managed to sort of scramble his way out, probably going half mad with what he'd seen. Realizing that these lizard things weren't just some.
I don't know, Mr. Damien.
Really existed.
I never read any Edgar Allan Poe. It would be interesting to compare, though, to see who's if their writing styles are similar.
Yeah, I think he was very much influenced by Poe and Dunsany and Ambrose Bierce. Some of these older writers.
To be fair, I did read one detective story by Poe, and the dialogue there was perfectly fine. So I think Poe didn't suffer from that sort of problem.
Was it Murder in the Rue Morgue?
Yeah, I love that one. That's
the very first detective story ever written, apparently.
Yeah.
Murder in the Rue Morgue.
I love that one. I read it twice.
Yeah. Mm. Cool.
So I think so it would be interesting. I will get to Edgar Allan Poe at some point as well.
Yeah. See, he mentions that Al-Hazred, I said the mad Arab Abdul Al-Hazred is mentioned, is the author of the famous Necronomicon. And that couplet that I recited.
Did H.P. Lovecraft wrote the Necronomicon, Mr. Gray, or is it someone else?
No, the Necronomicon is the book that Lovecraft uses as a device in many of his stories. So
yeah, but do you mean right now that someone else later after Lovecraft took it actually wrote Necronomicon? Or who you're talking about as a character in Lovecraft?
People subsequently have written what they've called Necronomicons. There are a couple of Necronomicons. There's something called the Simon Necronomicon, which someone has.
Simon. I knew it. Simon was the occult.
Which someone has created, but within the mythos of H.P. Lovecraft, the character, the mad Abdul Al-Hazred, was like possessed, driven mad, and he wrote the Necronomicon. It's probably like in Call of the Cthulhu we'll see later on, people who have got who are very creative, like artists and stuff like that in their dreams can sometimes be sort of visited and they can see images of Cthulhu. So I'm guessing that somehow Cthulhu kind of possessed him or influenced him to write the Necronomicon.
Okay, a character in Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Damien.
Got a headache now.
My goth phase.
Yeah.
I kind of see you with the black lipstick and black nails, Mr.
Oh, absolutely. I can. He was wearing them the other day. Today, when we was doing our chat earlier. There's also a mention as well. He mentions Sarnath and Ib. Sarnath. Yes, it mentions that earlier in the story.
The Egyptian gods, right? He mentions the Egyptian god of death. No,
he mentions some Egyptian memoir.
Anubis.
Possibly, but Sarnath and Ib are like his inventions from the doom that came to Sarnath. There's another story, the doom that came to Sarnath.
And in this story,
I kind of think that there were some kind of lizard people in that as well. I think the lizard people came from Ib. I think in that story, it's not in your book, is it? The doom that came to Sarnath, is it?
Let me check.
Because I think it's a dream cycle story rather than a mythos story. Although it may mention some of the gods.
What is it called again?
The doom that came to Sarnath.
Nah, I don't have here the doom that came to Sarnath.
Yeah, because
back then, I knew it.
In that one, the people from Sarnath wipe out the people from Ib because they're like lizard people. They kind of wipe them out because they're not human like they are. So they wipe them out, and then like 1,000 years later, the people from Ib return and they basically wipe out Sarnath. So that's mentioned in this story, like Sarnath and Ib.
A genocide for a genocide. Eh?
Yeah. So he's kind of mixing up history plus his own mythos to create, Yeah, so Sarnath and Ib didn't exist in although there is a place called Sarnath in India, but it's not the same Sarnath, so don't get confused. Anyway,
I wonder if Mr. Lovecraft could keep up with his own shit at some point.
Yeah, possibly not. I
wonder if he had a book really to keep up with all this, because the stories themselves, you have to read them so carefully. Because if not, you can completely get confused at what the hell's going on.
Oh yeah.
I swear, I had more understanding in starting to read Russian than in these.
Yeah.
And there's some words I can't even read properly, but here's like,
I got some reception as well as a well-known person who wrote about Lovecraft and did similar stories called Lynn Carter, described the Nameless City as a trivial exercise in Poe-esque Gothica, calling it overwritten and overdramatic. The mood of mountain horror is applied in a very artificial manner. Rather than creating in the reader a mood of terror, Lovecraft describes a mood of terror. The emotion is applied in the adjectives. He does, however, allow that the tale has some evocative power. Lovecraft himself was powerfully moved by an emotion of awe and fascination when contemplating the mysterious ruins of unthinkable antiquity. This emotion he managed to convey in a sort of dreamlike manner, despite his coldly clinical use of adjectives, is what's been written about that.
yeah, there's something they tell you nowadays. Don't use so many adjectives when you write.
Yeah.
Whereas it does say, reading all the other authors who wrote within the Cthulhu mythos.
Exactly, and they're still writing to this day. There's still anthologies going up to this day.
I find it kind of funny that he called it over dramatic.
Yeah, but it's like they say that he wasn't considered a great writer. I mean, maybe that's why in his time he didn't make it big, because his writing was overly flowery or over dramatic or not enough conversation. And like
I didn't feel like he didn't set a mood. I mean, I could see the city in my mind kind of when I read about it.
Yeah,
I did get the mood that it was quite creepy there.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was over dramatic. I would say maybe it lacked some dramatics. I would even say the first two stories, although not boring, are not very exciting.
No, there's not much goes on because they're very short as well, so not much actually goes on in them two first stories. But yeah, I think it's a cool story. It certainly gives you the impression you kind of know as soon as he mentions the reptile things that he thinks are worshipped by the people who live there. You kind of because you know what this kind of literature this is. You know, oh no, you're mistaken. Those are the people. Those these unhuman things are the real denizens of this ancient city. You know, because you kind of know that because you know what genre you're reading. You know that you're reading. You know that you're reading.
Oh wait, did he write that about him when Lovecraft was still alive, or is that late?
I don't know. I'm not too sure. But so
imagine Lovecraft coming out of the grave and bitch clapping him.
Yeah, that's so you know you're reading the horror genre, so you know that it's going to be something horrific. You know you're not reading an architectural journey. You're reading a horror book.
Very overprotective and prejudice upbringing created a lot of HP. Internalized fear of most outside world and its inhabitants, created this mood of absolute horror in many of his books. Oh, I guessed it. I did say that maybe he was hugged a bit too tight.
There you go.
Or was it? No, wait, who was it? I think Rina mentioned it.
I've not read a full biography of his, but I know he had.
No, not biography. But which one of you? Either you or Rina said that his mom was very overprotective of him.
Yeah, I did. I have heard that.
Or was it you, Alexa? Did you say it?
I think Rina might have mentioned it last week, but I did find that out reading. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you mentioned it on stream or you told me later. I just wondered what would have been if his mom, would let him loose more. Yeah, and he would have had normal friends. If maybe his stories would have looked completely different today.
And he wouldn't have been so scared of people who weren't exactly like him. He was very racist.
It's the only thing he knew.
Yeah.
I don't think you really call him racist necessarily. It's not like he knew anything else.
He definitely was racist because some of his correspondence has been, is known, and he had some very dodgy ideas.
Yeah, but
if
he grew up differently and actually met people, he probably
exactly. I did hear that in later life he recanted a lot of his ideas. Like for example, originally I think he was anti-Semitic, but then he married a Jewish lady later on in life. So he obviously learned, possibly when he actually met people and found people, who weren't exactly as he was, he sort of, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know how much he recanted or anything like that. I say I've not been a biography, and I'm not going to apologize for him or anything like that. It's history now. He's long dead.
Yeah, but again, this is all he knew. This is how he grew up. You can't really blame him for.
I think it was his upbringing. A lot of it was his upbringing.
Especially if his mom hugged him so tight and didn't let him out into actually eating people.
I'm sure that he's probably his parents, because they were originally affluent, weren't they? So I suppose they were, I don't know. If you're like rich at one point, and then you have to sort of, you kind of, you feel you don't belong like in the rest of the people of your society, because
especially probably back then.
Yeah, when the poor were a lot poorer, weren't they? I suppose. I don't know. One day I'll read a biography. One day I'll get a biography
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get a better idea.
So that probably affected a lot of it. I don't know. I still go back to thinking it's like with the Philip K. Dick, just that short story collection I read where Philip K.'s Dick ideas were more exciting than his actual stories.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, like maybe that's why it's also popular. Like all his ideas, all the worlds that he built, and maybe that's why it got so popular, because the idea is even more well known than H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I've ever heard of was Cthulhu, not even H.P. Lovecraft. Cthulhu was the first thing I've ever found out about. Yeah. Not only racist against non-whites, but Irish, Welsh, and other non-Germanic whites. Fear was instigated in it. Wow, kind of hard to blame the man then, considering that's all he knew. Bless you, Alexa.
Was that a cough or a sneeze?
It was a cough, but we're good.
It was a cough. Well, bless her anyway. I think she was channeling some kind of demon, to be honest. I think
maybe it was Lovecraft. He's like, yes, that wasn't my fault.
Is it just me, or does spacebunzz look slightly lizardy? She looks like She looks like a mixture between a lizard and a seal, with like a crocodile face.
And about being part Welsh.
Okay. Yeah. Ghost has obviously read a lot more into it than I know.
I love your avatar, Gust, and it's very nice.
I can't even see what it is. Oh, I see. It's a little hand drawn. It's the blinking reptile people. It's the monsters from this story.
Holy shit! The reptile people came to our live stream.
The alligator-headed people from the Nameless City have come to our stream. Maybe it's the ghost.
They look pissed.
Maybe the ghost hand is the name of the wind that blows from the door and claws everything back into the portal if they're not careful. Maybe he is the ghost hand that emerges from the golden door. Oh, man.
Maybe, to be fair, maybe it's just how the portal worked. It was constantly open, constantly sucked things in.
Yeah, it was really weird that. Maybe like, I don't know, maybe the void was breathing. Maybe it breathed out and breathe back in again, like it just like one long breath. I don't know.
Weird then.
Yeah, you can say maybe.
It's a good thing it's a mouth and not the other thing. Gross.
Yeah, you don't breathe in, but you don't breathe back in through that. At least I think you do anyway.
No,
I've tried. I think there are certain performers who used to do that kind of thing, but yeah.
All I can think of is that one thing in Jackass.
Right, I don't know. I think
it's best you don't. I regret it when I accidentally saw it.
Okay, I'll take your word.
I won't describe it. Never mind.
Right.
I won't describe it.
Right. You have to tell spacebunzz in private chat, because you can see.
Yeah, I was like, I love Jackass. You can tell me anything.
Right,
I'll tell you later then.
So we're going to do two. We're going to do 2 stories next week, aren't we?
Yeah. Let's do 2, because the one is so short. It just feels like we would waste a stream on it.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I don't know what it is for you guys, but for me in the book, it's 1 page.
Yeah, probably the same. So is it Azathoth? This is the 1-page one, isn't it?
Yeah, Azathoth, and the other one is the Hound.
The Hound. Okay, cool.
I must say, I have a very inappropriate bookmark for this.
I mean, but it's. I think that suggests.
I love that
terror. That suggests terror to me. I must say that suggests madness and the howling waste of Tindalos. Or yeah.
I'm telling Lisa that you think her shopping is horrendous.
Shopping?
Yeah, it's got shopping on it. You didn't notice that? Dresses, hearts, birthday cake. I'm saying it's very inappropriate to Cthulhu.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Mr. Gray, in Seed of Destruction, in the Hellboy stories, the first omnibus.
Oh, yeah.
There's this, like, huge creature up in space, and there's aliens monitoring it, and it's also sort of a squid. I wonder if it was also inspired from Cthulhu or something. Everybody knows the old gods love fashion and
cakes.
I suppose they do. So.
What's not to like about fashion and cakes? Yeah, lots of stuff has influence, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if there anything like that would, I
did wonder because the way they monitored it, and they're freaking out there when Rasputin's about to wake him up. They're going into panic mode down there, up there.
Yeah.
And I thought about it as during Cthulhu. I wonder if that's inspired.
Yeah, if it's sleeping.
And that's their Cthulhu.
Yeah, if it's been sleeping and someone's trying to wake it.
It's been sleeping. They're freaking out. They're like, who is the goddamn moron that's trying to wake up this thing?
Yeah, that sounds pretty Lovecraft.
And they're fish people.
Oh, yeah. Definitely sounds Lovecraftian. Oh, anyway.
Indeed. All right, so next week we're reading Azathoth.
Yeah, the Hound and Azathoth, yeah.
Yeah, so and after that, the week after that, we're finally getting to Cthulhu.
The Call of Cthulhu, yeah?
Yeah, that one's next.
That's quite a long one, the Call of Cthulhu.
You think we'll reach a story where there's actual dialogue?
Yeah, there's definitely some dialogue in Call of Cthulhu, I'm sure. Because there's a detective that they meet, and I'm sure he does a talk to his.
And that was based on so many games. There's like Sinking City. It's a recent game inspired by Cthulhu, and it's always the detective always has dreams, always has these nightmares. He's always drawn to go to this place, and there's always a weird cult.
Yeah,
always.
There's got to be a cult. There's got to be a cult to worship the ancient gods,
and they all have to wear robes.
Yeah, all the best cults have robes. Otherwise, what's the point of joining?
Yeah, but none of them have fucking slippers.
If you're just gonna go out in your casual clothing, it's just like it's not worth effort, is it? It's like you kind of casual Tuesdays on cult night. You've got to wear your robes.
Yeah, but they don't give really fancy fuzzy slippers. That's disappointing.
By the time we get further on this series, we'll all be wearing robes when we come in. We'll all be wearing down in our hoods, speaking the ancient signs and the ancient words of power.
And we'll have Cthulhu slippers,
exactly.
Cthulhu fuzzy slippers.
Next week, next week, I'm going to say aya, and you both got to say Cthulhu Fatagan like that because.
You're going to have to remind us before the show, Mr. Gray. Oh, Mr. Gray, bring your little Cthulhu next week. We got to remember that.
I'm at Lisa's now.
Right,
because the lockdown's kind of like been eased. Lisa's on Wednesday nights now. I'll try and see if I can bring it with me just for the
show.
Yeah, I was going to play out with that video file I tried to find last week. I think I might play out of it now.
By the way, Mr. Ross, you could read some Cthulhu-inspired comic book stories since you don't want to read regular ones.
Yeah.
If you want, Mr. Gray, you found a lot of free readings of Lovecraft, right? Mr. Ross can use that.
Yeah, so if you want to read extra short stories.
Nice nap.
Yeah, so Cthulhu says, I was just having a nice nap and you've woken me up. How dare you, human?
Well, that's something you should put on one of those weird things you wear on your eyes when you sleep.
Yeah.
I'm having a nap and then there'll be Cthulhu inspired. Yeah. Tentacles coming out from here.
Sleeping
I'm
like
going
Cthulhu.
to start a cult where everyone wears PJs.
You're not a fan of robes.
I think there's already a cult like that. It's called Moms.
Yeah.
Hey.
The thing is, do you wear pants underneath your robes is the thing, or do you go like commando under the robes? That's the other thing you have to consider. We'll have to work that out once our cult
When I start a cult, I'm making sure it's mandatory to wear undergarments.
Okay, but then you don't have the freedom. What's the point of wearing robes if you can't have the freedom? You can't have the freedom.
Excuse me, we're going to be summoning Cthulhu. There's going to be a lot of wind. If your robe goes up and we see something unnecessary, you're out of the cult.
I'll be like a Marilyn Monroe over the subway train. Ooh. right up with my hands, holding my robes down.
Can you imagine Cthulhu wakes up and he sees a bunch of old geezers and old women, and then people like standing like Marilyn Monroe?
Right. Anyone got any?
And how cold it is outside. Well, with Cthulhu, it's always cold.
Apparently, there's a Cthulhu sleep mask according to Ghost.
And I'm not surprised. Does it have tentacles, though?
I come up with some weird noises now as well. I know some microphones picking up something from outside. It sounded like chanting. It sounded like chanting coming from one of the microphones. Then
I think Cthulhu decided to pay us a visit. We woke him up.
I think something like that. Has anyone got any streams coming up or any shows videos they want to mention?
Alexa,
are you going to be wearing your robes on your TikTok next week and chanting your Cthulhu chant? I think you should do. Didn't we say this last week? You got to do a Cthulhu chant TikTok.
I thought last time it was Cthulhu makeup, but it was something.
I can't remember what I said now.
We'll be trying to get to that. I'm really good on YouTube, so eventually you'll see me again on YouTube.
Cool.
Yeah, check out Alexa's channel. You like cooking, makeup, and dancing, and cosplay.
Yes.
I'm gonna post a video today of my new book haul.
Okay,
no Cthulhu
cool.
in it though.
Never mind. Are you gonna do a reaction as well to your book you finished reading, the Queen's Gambit one?
I tried, but everything I have to say I can summarize in 2 minutes. Not really worth the video.
All right, cool. Yeah, cheers, Ghost Hand. We're off now ourselves, mate. Thanks for watching.
Ghost Hand.
Cool.
Wow, why a specific number? Was Ghost Hand 1 to 245 were taken?
Possibly. He's on Twitch. He's watching us on Twitch. Oh, we're everywhere. We're on Twitch. We're on Facebook. We only got 4 people.
I see that Sharon abandoned us this time since her daughter's not here. She's fucking people.
Yeah, maybe she'll be back next week. Right, I'm gonna play out this 31 nights of Halloween that I did.
We need to make sure to advertise the show next week, Mr. Gray.
Yeah, I never know.
Posts about it.
I don't do Instagram. I see other people's posts. I try and share it. And I don't know how to share it. I think you just post it on my story or something. I don't get it.
I'll show you one time, Mr. Gray.
Right, this is 31 Nights of Halloween. This is a story called Dorman, taken from a Cthulhu Tales. So I'm going to play this and we'll be back next week. With Azathoth and the Hound. Bye, everyone. Or should I say, Aya Cthulhu Fatagan. Aya Cthulhu Fatagan. The Grey Side presents 13 Nights of Halloween.
Let's make it 31 Nights of Halloween instead, if your heart can stand it. It's the third house on the left. Are you sure? Yeah, that's it, definitely. Where is it, Toby? Upstairs bedroom, south wall. Alright, let's hope we're not too late. Oh my god! Jim, wake up! Help! Help! Ma'am, it's okay. We're not here to explain after, Toby. Now let's go. Is this the one? No, it's inside the room. Get away from there, Jim! Help! You said the south wall. This can't be right. Damn it, Toby, where is it? I don't get it, Vic. It should be right there. But there's no door on that wall. Oh God, did I get the wrong house? It's supposed to be on the south wall. It is. Is that possible? It's rare, but yes, a door is a door. Get ready. It's locked. Strangers came and Alice is in there. Move back. Oh no, Vic, there's a girl under the bed. What? Cover her eyes. Hurry. We have to get her out of here. There's no time. The door is opening. 3 weeks later, Rick, how nice to meet you. Mr. Jones, it's a pleasure. Please, call me Boris. May I offer you a drink? No, thank you, sir. Rick, do you know why I asked you here today? Well, not to put the cart before the horses, but I assume it's to offer me a job. Only I have no idea what the job is. I apologize for keeping things vague, but it's necessary while we weed out the undesirables. The family of a boyhood friend of mine raised draft horses. They were massive, beautiful animals. But before his parents would ever let my friend come out to play, he had to finish his chores, so I would help him. One of those chores was calling the horses in from the fields and into the barn. But the horses were a fickle bunch. They would only go into the barn if the front door was open. The problem, however, was that the horses liked to just walk out of the barn and off the farm, so it was my job to stand in the open doorway as a deterrent. I'm sorry? You want to hire me to stand in a doorway to keep horses from leaving the barn? No. That's my job. Rick Mastiff, this is Victor Gantz, our doorman. You've got some pretty big shoes to fill, Rick. I hope you're ready. Toby O'Keefe, the man you're replacing, was shot and killed in the line of duty a few weeks ago. We were all very fond of him. I'm sorry to hear that, but I still don't know what you're hiring me to do. Like Victor said, it's his job to stand in the barn doors. Just need you to find them. Figure it out yet? No, I just don't get it. The answer is right here, but I just can't find it. Do you know why? No, why? It's because you don't believe. Alien gods, dimensional doorways, beings that drive you mad just by looking at them. All of this is fantasy to you, and you're here just for the 7-figure salary. Toby, the good man that you replaced, was shot and killed by a man who thought he was going to hurt his daughter, but he was saving her from these things that are very, very real. I don't know what Boris saw in you when he gave you the job. What do you want me to say, Victor? I've been at this for months, and I've seen nothing to convince me. I know all the formulas, all the references, all the history, and I still can't find these doorways. And every time I look at this damn book, oh my God, I see it. That's why I haven't been able to find the answers. The book keeps changing. But that's impossible. It's... Convinced now? That's the only copy of the book we have, so try not to get sick on it. Is this whole puke after a gig thing going to become a habit for you? My God, the sound! Too bad you can only close your eyes, huh? Man, this is embarrassing. Don't worry about it. I did more than puke my first time. How do you do it? The sounds are horrifying enough, but to stand there and look at them... Where did you learn to do that? It's not something you learn, Rick. I'm just one of the very few people who can do what I do and not die of fright. There has to be some skill to it. I mean, you stand in these doorways and scare off things that would drive anyone else insane. Is that what you think I do? I don't scare anything. These things can't be scared. I stand in the doorway so they won't notice the hole between dimensions and come through. Wait, you mean that if something wanted to come through a doorway, you wouldn't be able to stop it? Hell no. It'd be like an ant trying to stop a hurricane the size of Saturn. So, we keep plugging the holes and hope they don't get curious. Got any relish? And if they come through, humanity spirals into an apocalyptic nightmare of madness and chaos. Kind of makes you wish you become a dentist, doesn't it? Hey Vic, how many hotels did this make in the past year? 7, 8 if you count the Owlium Hotel down in Fairfax. Oh, I don't want to remember. Some of those tenants were scarier than your doorways. Okay, get ready. The door's opening. Rick! Victor! It's got me! Oh God, it's got me! Rick, stand here and do not move! No matter what you see! Do not move! No! Where are they? Inside. Victor! Oh no! Rick? Is that you? But where's Victor? He's gone. Something pulled him through. I stood in the doorway. And you survived. You know what this means? Yeah. I'm the new doorman.